let's go ahead and jump into our first topic of the evening, Chris. Week 3 of spring practice. What is the big news, my man? I'll let you hit us up first. What came out from the media this week in spring practice that you want to touch on?
Well, I'll tell you, for me, it's got to be some excitement about the transfer, Davison Igbenison. There we go. I got it right. I'm not an uncultured swine, Eric.
Not all the time.
Not all the time. But hey, it looks like this guy could be cracking that starting lineup after a second huge scrimmage Saturday. He picked off Kyle McCord, several pass breakups during the day. He really looks like he's pushing to be a strong candidate to be the guy opposite Denzel Burke, who, by the way, I'm also hearing looks like he's returning to that freshman form. So we could have a great tandem at corner there, the way these guys are looking.
Yeah, so I'm super high on Igbinosun. I really am. I think the guy is. Um, Go ahead, mark it down. I think he's the second quarterback. I do.
Yeah,
I
I
think I,
agree.
I think he's starter. Everybody's talking so highly of him. He's flashed the two times the media has been in there to see the scrimmage. He's flashed. He's done well. He's picked up the defense very nicely, and I feel very confident right now that our quarterback situation this year is much better than it was last year. And that was one of our big weaknesses last year, Chris,
Yeah.
was our health at cornerbacks. Like at one time we were throwing guys out there. It was like, hey, can you walk and chew gum? Because we need you right now at cornerback. That's how, how desperate it was
I
at
think
quarterback.
Xavier Johnson was about to head to the defensive backfield next.
Yeah, right. Like might as well at that point. So I feel very, very confident that our cornerback situation uh, is improving and it is going to be really good this year. Um, Outside of that, um, I am also hearing really, really good things about the defensive backs in the safety position.
Mhm.
Now, we're going to talk a little here in a little bit when we flip it over and we do some of the negatives about an injury that happened, but um, especially especially the safety position, they have options. We
Yeah.
finally have options. And some of those guys who are in their third, fourth, fifth, even their sixth season at Ohio State are finally grasping the importance of what's going on in their career and in the backfield. And of course, I'm talking about Josh Proctor. Jim Knowles was asked about Josh Proctor. He says, I'm seeing a focused and determined young man. I think he has become extremely serious this spring. He knows it's his last chance because time is running out. I'm seeing some good things from him. It was only a year ago, Chris, if you recall, opening game, he got burnt
Yes.
early on. He was pulled
Yeah.
out of the game. We never saw Proctor for the most part rest of the season after that.
Yeah.
I think he's been given a second chance to prove himself, and he's at least taking it serious this time.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. A new lease on life. That's what this young man needed, I think. And I think we saw, I think through his career, we've seen some flashes of what could be. And I think maybe, according to Knowles, he's got the focus to go with that athleticism and ability to, make a run at it, getting and keeping the starting job this time.
If you recall, 2 seasons ago, he got hurt against Oregon.
Yes.
And we at the time we thought that was a devastating injury
Yes.
because we all were super high on Josh Proctor at that time. He gets hurt, and then a new defense gets put in place, and I think a lot of things kind of just snowballed on him. I think if he could return to form of where he was 2 years ago before that injury,
Mm-hmm.
and he becomes that eraser on the back end,
Mm-hmm.
that only spells good things for this defense.
Well, and do you think maybe the injury was lingering at the beginning of last year, and that may have been an issue as well?
Possibly. I also think there maybe was some bad mojo, some bad
Yeah.
attitude, possibly. New defense. There's no street cred anymore from what
Right.
he had gathered from the previous coaching staff on the defensive side. So Yeah, maybe that was the case. How about Carnell Tate? Fastest
Yes,
freshman ever
ever.
to lose his black stripe. Do
Yeah.
tell, Chris. Do tell.
Oh man, this kid is just amazing. And Eric, the young man cost me a box of cookies, my man. That hurts. That hurts. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what Brian Hartline is consistently bringing into this wide receiver room. I mean, the guy has speed, he's got athleticism, he's got size. He has all the tools right now to go in and be an impact player. And Eric, I think this guy's going to see quality minutes. Obviously, I think we're going to see a lot of him in the spring game with all the guys that are not playing. And I think it's going to lead to the potential to him seeing some quality minutes, maybe even taking over that number 3 spot if Fleming isn't back to 100% really quick.
I don't know that he's going to be at the number 3. I do think he's a part of that top 6 that
Top six,
Brian Hartline
yes,
kind of
without a
let out of
doubt.
the bag. He said, I have 6 or 7 guys I'm pretty confident in. And right away, the media was like, would you like to name them? And he was like, no, it's a secret. But
Well,
I'm
that
pretty,
that's the Ryan Day influence right there.
oh, yeah, of course. Of course. I'm pretty sure that Carnell Tate is one of those 6 guys. I'm pretty
Oh, I don't
sure
think there's
he
any
is.
doubt.
Yeah. Um, who else? What else has jumped out to you news wise?
How about the defensive line, Eric? I mean, we saw it and we talked about it a little bit before we came on tonight. These guys have just been tearing it up this spring. JTT, Jack Sawyer, Talik Williams, Mike Hall Jr., Ty Hamilton. They've been looking amazing all spring. You throw in Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson, who have been having a great spring as well. This defensive line looks for real. And this is coming off a season last season when, uh, the defensive line actually, I think most of us considered underproduced when you look at the fact that this was a team that had the second fewest hurries and third fewest sacks that Larry Johnson has had from a defensive line in his time at Ohio State. So I think this is a fact. I think we're getting healthy. I think we've got a much deeper defensive line maybe than we thought originally. I think there's going to be a great rotation there, and I think it could be a great thing of great sign of things to come. Or is it just an indictment of how bad our offensive line is the question? You don't we don't want to go down that track, but especially with like you said, another big injury hitting that offensive line. You know, it I'm hoping it's that the defensive line is that good. I think they are that good, but one has to ask himself: is it the defensive line or is it the offensive line?
Last year at this time, the same thing was happening. The defensive
Yes.
line was dominating in spring. We fast forward to fall, and Paris Johnson Jr. and Dewan Jones pretty much shut that down. And then our
Yeah.
defensive line didn't really play up to par during the season. Now, JTT had an amazing game against Penn State. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But as a whole, as a unit, they underachieved last year.
Agreed.
And if this team, and this number one, if this defense is going to take the next step forward, which I have predicted they will, it starts up front with pressure. Doesn't mean your sack numbers have to be through the roof, but what it does mean is you cannot allow the quarterback to have time to pick apart the defensive backfield. If you can get pressure and you make him uncomfortable, it's going to make the every unit behind you that much better. And so our defensive backs, if they can just give the defensive line just one more second because they're covering better, that's going to make the defensive line look better. It
Yes.
really works in tandem on defense when it comes to pressure. And so I think they're going to take that step. Now, I think there's one big reason why, and it's not because of Jack Sawyer being put back in the defensive end. I think it's because Mike Hall is going to be
Healthy.
healthy. He absolutely is unblockable right now.
Yes.
And they are literally pulling him out of the game to make it fair when they scrimmage.
And
Because
Eric,
we
we
can't
saw
block
that
him.
when he was healthy last year.
Yeah. He'd have like 8 snaps and 2 sacks.
Yeah.
What? Imagine if he got 40, 50 snaps a game.
Yeah,
The,
exactly.
the dude, and that's going to make JTT, Jack Sawyer, and Kenyatta, and all these other defensive ends, all of them are going to play better with
Yes.
more pressure up the middle. And so I think it starts there on this defense. I really do. But